Alright guys, I'm going to try to make this lesson short and sweet because, again, it's another review. So rate of change and slope is what we're getting into. Can we find the rate of change in an equation, and can we determine the slope of a line? Turns out they're kind of one and the same, but let's dive into it and take a look at these two objectives. First of all, a rate of change is simply a ratio that compares how much one quantity changes on average relative to another quantity. Okay, so when we're talking about rate of change in regards to slope, that's just going to be the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so we remember that, hopefully remember that y1 minus y2, the change in y over, and you can write these either way. You can write it this way. It doesn't really matter. I guess it makes more sense to write it this way. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Either way you do it, it doesn't really matter, as long as you keep things consistent. Okay, so we do the change in the y's over the change in the x's, and we get our rate of change. Another name for that is slope. So example 1 says, the graph at the right shows the number of gallons of water in a swimming pool as it is being filled. At what rate is the pool being filled? So rate is just another name for slope. So we're going to do the change in y, change in x. Let's try it out here. So if we call this, well, I guess we'd call this, okay, so this is x2. We'll call this x2, y2, x1, y1. Okay, so we have 252 minus 108. Okay, that's a change in y over the change in x, which is 7 minus 3. Okay, so when we do this, we get 4. 252 minus 108 is, let me just get my calculator out here. 252 minus 108 is 144. Okay, when I take 144 and divide it by 4, I get 36. So it's filling at 36 gallons per minute. Okay, so gallons per minute. And then I'm done with example 1. Let's move on to example 2. In the year 2000, 23,142 students applied to State College. 34,689 students applied to Central University. In 2008, 29,563 students applied to State College, and 36,107 applied to Central University. Determine the rate of change, average rate of change in applicants for both schools from 2000 to 2008. Okay, so for this one, what I'll do is I'll take the year is going to be kind of the independent variable, and the students will call the dependent variable. Okay, so x and y. So for the years, we know that 8 years passed by. Okay. And then in the y here, let's take a look at the average rate of change for both schools. Okay, so from 2000 to 2008 for State College, let's take a look at that one first. We have 29,563 minus 23,142, all divided by 8. Okay, so if I do this on my calculator here, let's just plug that in. 29,563 minus 23,142. Divide that by 8. For this one, I get 802.625. Okay, then let's do our other one. So our other one would be 34,689. And then 36,107. Subtract those, divide by 8 as well. Okay, so 36,107, putting this in my calculator, minus 34,689, divided by 8, I get 177.25. So on example 2, we can estimate this. We might as well just round up to the nearest student. So this would be 803 students approximately. And then for our other one, it'll be approximately, we'll round down for that one, approximately 177 students. Okay, so that's example 2. Slope, again, slope is just what we've been talking about. It's a change in y over the change in x. It's the ratio of the change in y to the change in x. We've talked about this in depth, but here it is again, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's just the change in y over the change in x. So for example 3, it says find the slope of the line that passes through each pair of points. So again, we're just going to take the change in y. Okay, so y's are here. So we can do 5 minus negative 3 over 3 minus 1. What's important is if you start with the second set of points, you start with this 5, always start with that on the x as well. Notice that 5 and 3 are both the starting points. Okay, you could have gone the other way as well. You get the exact same answer. 5 minus negative 3 is 8. 3 minus 1 is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I have a slope of 4 between those 2 points, for example, 3a. And then for 3b, we'll do the same thing. We'll take the change in y over the change in x. So change in y, negative 9 minus 11. Okay, these are the y's, negative 9 minus 11, over the change in x, which is 24, minus negative 8. Okay, negative 9 minus 11 is negative 20. 24 minus negative 8 is 24 plus 8. 24 plus 8 is 32. And then if we reduce this, we know that, we know that at least 4 goes into both of these. So if 4 goes into 25 times, and 4 goes into 32 8 times. So we can call this negative 5/8 is the slope for that one. Okay, last example, you guys, and then you guys are on your own. So this is a very short lesson. So find the slope of each line. So let's look for a solid point. Looks like we got one here, where we know that that's like 8, 4, right? And let's look for another one, maybe this one. We have negative 8, 2. Okay, to find the slope, we want to identify 2 solid points first, and now we can just do the change in y over change in x. Okay, so I could do 4 minus 2 over 8 minus negative 8, which is 2 over 16, which is 1/8. So the slope here would be 1 over 8. And just make sure that that looks good. For some reason that's different than what they're getting in the back of the book. Hold on. What did I do wrong? 8, 4. Negative 8, negative 2. See, look at that little mistake and what it could do. Let's do this one more time. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we have 4 minus negative 2 over 8 minus negative 8. 4 minus negative 2 is 6, because we're going to add those. 8 minus negative 8 is 16. There, that looks better. 2 goes into both of these. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 16 8 times, so we have 3/8. That's what matches the back of the book. So there we go, that's 4a. Let's look at 4b. So for 4b, let's see here. Looks like this would be a solid point. That would be at negative 1, 2. I'll watch my signs more carefully here. And then this would be a point 0, negative 2. Okay, let's see if that works. So if I take the change in y, it would be negative 2 minus 2 over change in x would be 0 minus negative 1, which gives me negative 4 over positive 1, which is negative 4. Okay, so the slope for 4b is negative 4. That's all I have for you guys. You're working on slopes today. I have a homework sheet for you online. Have a good one. We'll see you guys in class.